And a very good evening, folks. Welcome to the Championship Review. I'm Carl Edwards-Lee as your host. We've got some loads of games we'll talk about, including Friday night's game between Leicester and Birmingham, Stoke against West Brom, also Norwich were away at Blackburn, Derby went up to Portman Road to face Ipswich, Southampton against Watford. We'll talk about all those games coming up as well. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe to the channel on our channel as well. I'm also trying to grow a bit more. Yesterday we did the Saturday show. It was a bit of a shorter show because we did have the guests on, most of the guests on, but we'll have some more guests coming up in a couple of weeks. It was a bit of a hectic Saturday morning I had, but that's what happens when you're doing podcasts. But we're all good for tonight. We'll have Annie and Ant joining us later on. So let's say good evening to Michael. Michael, good evening to you.
Good evening, my friend. How are you doing?
Not too bad, actually. It's been a very up and down week, I would say, but not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, it's been bit personally, it's not been the best of weeks, but someone's clearly having a nice run on a motorbike outside. I don't know if you can hear that.
Lucky you can't hear that. I've got to deal with a party next door, behind my behind my bedroom.
Yeah.
So,
but to be fair, do you know what? But obviously, well, from a selfish point of view, Sunderland definitely helped make my mood yesterday with the most mental end to a game. And I need to send you probably a clip. I think you're doing the 20 with Doug, aren't
yes, for tomorrow night. Yes.
Right, so yeah, remind me. I'll send you another clip that I saw and give you my thoughts.
That will be perfect. Yeah, we'll do that for you tomorrow night, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But yeah, no, if you haven't seen Sunderland 2, Brentford 1, it has been the second half was full of crazy talking points, and not a bad point for Leeds either. So I can imagine we're probably in decent mood from football wise, and I know Doug definitely is because I've just seen his comment.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, that's mental.
Doug was just on his channel doing his review on Liverpool Arsenal. So
as yeah, right, it's a big win.
Yeah,
and thank you, Doug, for Monday night because that was really funny.
And also, he's his comment for the Arsenal fans.
Doug 2.0. I can tell Doug's slightly enjoying that one, but
way too much. We know what Doug's like.
Well, put it this way: we're level on points with Arsenal, and you're only 2 points behind them. So we'll just ignore the fact it's only 3 games in, but just sweep that under the rug. We're just going to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we'll leave. If that comes on, we'll leave Leicester and Burnley later on, and also we'll leave Derby and Hull.
I was going to say leave Bristol City and Leicester till the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's start off with the only team that still have not got a point in the championship, which is Sheffield United. They lost 1-0 away yesterday to Middlesbrough. A goal from Tommy Conway gave another win, keeping 100% winning record for Middlesbrough and for Edinburgh since he joined early in the summer. Michael, there's a lot of fans that are questioning Ruben Sellers completely now.
That's an understatement. I mean, I'm pretty sure I heard there was I think there were suggestions there were a chance of being sacked in the morning or something from Ruben Sayers, and I think, look, you can't ignore. I mean, 0 points after 4 games especially for a parachute payment side is pathetic. Really, to be totally honest, I do get the argument. I think that they've lost Ahmed Hozic. I think I've said that name right.
Yeah,
and Vinny Souza. They are two absolutely massive losses for Sheffield United. But even then, when you've still got, I mean, obviously Jaffet Tanganga, I believe, made his debut.
He did, yeah.
In this game. You got Jaffet Tanganga, Harrison Burrows is still there, Michael Cooper's still there, Gus Hamer's still there, Callum O'Hare, Sidney Peck, Tyrese Campbell, Tom Cannon. There is. I mean, obviously, and Louis Barry's another one as well. They've got quality in abundance for this level, and it just doesn't look like they're gelling as with any cohesion or anything. I mean, I'm looking at this here. No shots on target. Middlesbrough had over double the expected goals. Middlesbrough had 41 touches in the opposition box to Sheffield United's 15. That is something else. And you know what? Ignore my thoughts on Chris Wilder for a second. I think Michael might have a fair point. I think that the problem with Ruben Sayers is saying Chris Wilder being the biggest loss for Sheffield United. And the problem I've said all along that Sayers has got, even though I don't think he's a bad head coach at all, is that he's following Chris Wilder. And a lot of Sheffield United fans wouldn't have wanted him to have been sacked or to have left. But yeah, I mean, if we're quickly talking it from a Middlesbrough perspective, I mean, and as Ant's just said there, Rob Edwards looked fantastic, didn't he? I don't know whether he's seeing it from a male attraction point of view or whether he's seeing it from a footballing perspective. But either way, that is, but you've got to be fair to him. And I'm someone who championed that I do not think Rob Edwards was a bad appointment when he was made. And
Yeah.
obviously, again, 42 games to go. We've still got a long way to go yet. But you can't knock it. I mean, 4 wins out of 4. I mean, and I believe that we had to include wins away at Norwich, away at Millwall, playing a parachute payment club. Who, okay, they've obviously got 0 points at the minute, but at the end of the day, they're still a team with parachute payments. They're expected to be right up there, so it's not exactly been the easiest of starts on paper for Rob Edwards. Obviously, the goal itself was really good through ball for Matt Target, who's on loan from Newcastle now. And Tommy Conway does what Tommy Conway does. And obviously the big criticism with Middlesbrough was sort of not replacing Latte Lat last January, which is probably what cost them in the end for a run into the playoffs. But yeah, I think you got to hand it to Rob Edwards. And as for Ruben Sayers, I mean, yeah, it's getting quite concerning now, I think. And obviously I think that Sheffield United, I believe, haven't had many shots on target either across the
The
4
5
games that they've
games
had.
in all competitions, yeah.
Yeah, and they've only had only scored 1 goal in 4 games. And when you look at the talent that they've got, that's really, really poor. And actually, as Michael said there, the Blades were 15 minutes away from the Premier League in the playoff final. And particularly as a Sunderland fan, because obviously it was Sheffield United Sunderland in the playoff final, it's a mental looking back now how that one mistake from Kiefer Moore and that goal from Tommy Watson has changed everything for both clubs. How Sheffield United maybe Sheffield United haven't been able to recover from that. Maybe they haven't been able to recover from the disappointment of that on top of losing Chris Wilder.
Mm.
And then Sunderland obviously have won 2 of the first 3 in the Prem. Obviously, harder games to come, obviously, but still. Either way, and by the way, I'm not saying West Ham and Brentford are easy games because no Prem in the game, no game in the Prem is easy, as Ant found out last season, as we will undoubtedly find out this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just amazing how that's happened. We're on 6 points, and yet Sheffield United have on 0 points in the Championship. So the weird thing is, when I looked at them against Bristol City on the opening day, first half I thought they played really well, and that's the scary thing. Maybe that defeat just took a battering out of them. So I don't know, but I think Ruben Sayers will stay there for the moment. But I don't know what you think, Carl. But I think that if things don't improve by the October international break, I think he could be well out of the job.
I do 100% agree. I think he could be out of the job during the next international break. I just think, I think the club will stick by him during now while there were no games on for the next week and a half. I just think now there's going to be pressure mounted on if things don't improve.
Yeah.
I look like they need to get some more additions in the transfer window to put by tomorrow by 7 p.m. They need some more players in. And I think that squad is so fit. Is a little bit thinner than it was before. I said, look, deep down, especially the new owners have not done a lack of the transfer incomings, and one of your best players here has been linked with going to Leeds, which I just don't think is going to happen. I just don't think it's probably a quarter. It just shows that they've got no replacements at all, completely. And
Yeah.
who do they get in is a question. It's like what Michael just said. Sean Dice and Steve Cooper will be waiting to Selly gets a boot from the Blades. They probably will be the 2 names that probably, but maybe Cooper than Dice will have to work under the new board's data AI recruitment, and that's going to be the question. And I think, look, I think they are still hungover after what happened in the playoff final when they were 15 minutes away and Keith were giving the goal away for Tommy Watson to score the winner. I just think there's a huge issue there at the moment that's it's lingering them, and I think it takes so long to recover from something, from a disappointment when you were 15 minutes away. It takes so long. You could say, for example, like Huddersfield Town did. When Huddersfield Town did win the playoff final against Nottingham Forest a couple of seasons ago, you could see that there was a downfall after that when things just went for the wrong turn of getting, manager after manager when the New York came in, manager and down in League One. And that just shows you how a team, when they're 90 minutes away from trying to get into the Premier League, it takes a toll on you. It really does. And you don't recover from that quite easy. You have to have brilliant psychologists in that club, in a football club, to make sure you that players are try to focus again and for the new season and try to, not let that bother them so
Let
much
that
in the
mental
back of their head.
hangover go into the new. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It is difficult to recover from that. I mean, like I said, I cast my mind back when we lost the playoff final against Charlton in League One 6 years ago, and it took quite a while for that to sort of diminish from the club. But to be fair, if we're going to make a fair comparison with Sheffield United, the last two playoff final losers, effectively, the one before them was Leeds. Now, obviously, Leeds ended up bouncing back and going up the following season, but I'm looking at the squads that both starting 11s that both had. So when you drew 3-3 with Portsmouth on the opening day of last season, and when they've lost to 4-1 to Bristol City, and I'm looking, and the only area I can say that Sheffield United are superior is in goal, as in what you had last year. So you obviously had Meslier in goal. Michael Cooper, safe to say, is a better goalkeeper than
yeah, that's a
Emma
fair,
Meslier.
fair thing.
But
Yeah,
you're
that's a fair
looking at
one.
your team then was Bogle, Rodon, Stružek, Firpo, Ampadu, Gruev, James, Ruter, Janonto, Joseph. Now, obviously, Ruter ended up going, which is obviously a factor in that. So there is that to consider. But in general, then you're also looking at Sheffield United. Now that was Cooper, Suriki, Bindon, Reece Norrington, Burrows, Sidney Peck. Then you got Brooks, O'Hare, Hamer, Barry, Campbell. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that Sheffield United, and obviously that's just the start 11. Obviously, signings made in before there and everything else. Like Jaffe Tanganga will fit right in there. I think maybe another. I think they still need another engine in the midfield of what Vinny Souza had, because I think that's a massive loss for them. And I
I
think
think it will need two if Hamer does leave because he's been literally moved to PSV as well.
yeah, I've
They will
seen
need
that.
two in midfield engineers in that midfield role, and I think they need another striker up front. Yes, Louis Barry and Terry Scott are good, but to replace someone like Kiefer Moore is vital completely.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So I think there's obviously a lot of work for Sheffield United to do. But the weird thing is, I mean, looking at like say for example Steve Cooper. I know Ant's made kind of a joke about it in the comment, and you can suspect he is a little bit drunk. But
No shit.
I know shit, Sherlock. But of course he is after Leicester win. But either way, and of course he's mentioning Coventry. What a surprise! But either way, though, I think with Sheffield United, it's quite a. They're obviously going to have a busy time of it tomorrow, and I think that that's what I mean. They're missing the sort of like, especially if Hamer goes on top of Vinny Souza, then what you really need is you need to have engines in the midfield and people who can sort of play even a double pivot to some degree, or one goes a bit further forward, or one's box to box. And you could say that they help dictate games and dominate games and win games when they're under the cosh. Because it
Yeah,
seems to me at the minute, any sign of pressure on Sheffield United, and they seem to be crumbling. They seem to fold like a pack of cards. So
yeah,
um, that is obviously something that needs to drastically change and change quickly. So, and obviously, again, like I said, you guys did bounce back, but I think you were working off a stronger base last year than what
yeah,
Sheffield United are this year. Because I know, obviously, at the time, obviously, last summer you sold it was a Gray, Ruter, Kamara, and Somerville, but you
yeah,
still had a lot of other players that are top end championship players, and I'm talking top 2 level championship players. So, yeah, I don't know. I really hope it works out for Ruben Sellers, because I don't think he is a bad manager or a bad head coach at all. But obviously, the games he's got coming up after this, I think, are quite. I think the next one's a trip to Portman Road, and I bet you wouldn't have. I bet you wouldn't have thought going into September that two of the parachute Ipswich and Sheffield United, two of the parachute payment teams, would be winless by the time we get to that point. But that's the situation state everyone finds themselves in. I think
yeah,
after that they have Charlton at Bramall Lane. I'm not being funny. If you don't beat Ipswich, Charlton home has got to be 3 points. There's no getting away from that. And then I think they go to Oxford the week afterwards. Then a home game against Southampton. So it's not exactly going to get. So Ruben says definitely needs wins and fast. That's for sure. But from
yeah.
Middlesbrough, I mean, the fairy tale star continues. Who do the Middlesbrough think they are? Sunderland of last season, going and winning your first 4 games. How dare they?
Uh,
But you know what? I think Rob Edwards kind of needed that as well, because obviously his reputation after Luton took quite a bit of a battering after, as in the last 6 months of Luton.
yeah,
And I stand by that. And I've said before, I stood by that. I think far too many people focused on how it ended at Luton rather than looking at the whole package of what he did at Luton. Because
Luton.
although last season it was terrible under Edwards. The year before that, you can't ignore the fact that he got them into the Premier League, and
And then and they had a chance to stay up as well,
yeah,
so which a
they
lot of
had the
people
best
don't.
crack out of the promoted sides that year, with by far the weakest budget, I believe.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's
they
something
were
to kind
hard team to. at home when they were a hard team to beat at Kenilworth Road. They were up for it.
Oh yeah, I mean they got some pretty decent scalps at Kenilworth Road, didn't they? I mean, look, Newcastle, for example, being one of them, who I think finished in the top seven that season,
Yeah,
and would have got into Europe had it not been for Man U beating Man City in the FA Cup. So I think Rob Edwards has proven has shown now the first few games he kind of needed a fast start, but I don't think even he would have expected it to go this well, and even Middlesbrough fans expected it to have gone this well, and deserves all the credit for it. Deserves absolutely all the credit for it. So actually, is what Michael's saying. There's some Borough podcasts are saying that Rob Edwards is an upgrade on Michael Carrick. Now, if Rob Edwards can get the habit of making Middlesbrough tougher to beat, which it
yeah.
seems that he has done already. But I mean, when things are going tough, not crumbling, staying in your shape, making sure you show the nasty side of the game within reason, then I think there's every reason that Borough should be in the playoffs for me because their squad should be good enough to do it. Obviously, whether they end up finishing top of the league, it's a long season. Time will tell on that, especially when midweek games start coming into it, and we'll see how it goes on. But yeah, so for all it's for Sheffield United's despair at the minute, you've got to go say, well, fair play to Middlesbrough. And
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sure that 4-0 defeat to Doncaster in the League Cup is easily forgotten about now.
Yeah, very much so. I'm just looking at Sheffield United signings the last couple of days. To sign Neil Zata Storm from Malmo, Danny Ings joined on a free from West Ham after he was released from West Ham. Yep, Tatanga joined for 7.5 million, and Chong has joined from Luton as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that
So
one.
it looks like it's picking up the pace of realize the data is not worked out well. So they're now trying to go bit the normal scouting way, which what some teams still use mixed about. So I think now it's they are getting the play bodies in, but like I said at the moment, it's tough for them, especially with if you're going to replace Hamer, who might be going by tomorrow evening at 7
Yeah.
p.m. Then you need to bring two pivot engineers in that midfield role. You do. You
Do you know
really
what?
do.
To be fair as well, yeah, I think that's the problem. I think, look, like I said, there are some good players within that squad, but it's another thing gelling them into a cohesive unit, isn't it? And that's something that says is obviously going to have to figure out soon if he wants to stay in at Bramall Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I see. It's still on loan with you
But I
guys.
just want to say, when Anne says biggest club in the Northeast, I hope he means us and not Borough. Because I have no problem admitting Newcastle are bigger than us, but I have a massive problem if someone tries to argue Borough are bigger than Sunderland, because like not a chance. No way. But no, for Rob Edwards, well done. 12 points, and obviously if you want to get at least in the top six, the earlier you get the points on the board, the better. Then when you have a wobble later on, it's not catastrophic for your chances of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Moving on. Finally, the first win for QPR's new boss, Julian Stefan, after they beat Charlton 3-1. Michael, that was huge, especially for QPR. Bit of a slow start and a bit of after the 7-1 thrashing last weekend against Coventry. They come away with a 3-1 win. That was huge for QPR.
Oh, absolutely. There's no getting away from that. I mean, look, I mean, like I said, I mean, obviously, I think to be fair, to them, they've not done too badly at home this season so far. They obviously drew 1-1 at home to Preston on the opening day, which we forget was 3 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah,
Obviously, losing 2-1 away at Watford, but what I hear, Watford did deserve the win that day, apparently. Obviously, Coventry losing 7-1. Yeah, that's just criminal, to be honest. So I think it was important for them to bounce back with a result. And obviously, Charlton are still on the crest wave of promotion. So it was vitally important for them to end up getting the win. Obviously, Smith puts them ahead within the first 8 minutes of the game. Obviously, then at half time, 1-0. Apter scores a pretty decent goal from what I can remember of getting Charlton back level. And then obviously it was two late goals, wasn't it, from Sato and from Richard Coney, who is that the Wickham one? Is he signed
yeah.
for QPR?
The
Yeah,
Wickham
okay, I
player,
thought it.
yeah, who joined from
I was
Wickham,
thinking
yeah.
unless he's got a long lost twin that I don't know about, with someone who happens to have the same name. But yeah, that was huge, and I think, and again, as you know yourself, I think you want to get a win. If you haven't won a game, it's huge for you to win going into a 2-week international break, because then at least you can sort of just reflect on it and you can just say, right, okay, we've got the first win on the board. We've just got to make sure that we calm ourselves down. So yeah, it is absolutely huge, and obviously again for Julian Stefan, of course, replacing Marty Cifuentes, it was massive. And even more, there would have been a bit of scrutiny after last week, and rightly so. So it was good to see them end up bouncing back with getting a win. And as for Charlton, like I said, I think What is it? How many points have Charlton got now? Is it 4 or 5? 4 points. So yeah, so
Oh, now,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah. So obviously, it's 2 defeats and 2 at the minute. Obviously QPR, anything can happen with that one, and of course they were playing Leicester last week, who would be fancied to be right up there. But they've generally not disgraced themselves so far. They just need to make sure that they keep themselves right above the dotted line. Just make sure, or the straight line according to the table now. No dotted line anymore.
No.
But yeah, but no, I don't. I think if you offered Charlton fans 4 points, I don't think too many would have complained about it either.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Absolutely, I think it's the most points for Charlton, especially. I think from away from home, they'll try to always script for a point, but for when they're at home at the Valley, they always will fight to get a win, which is more important for them. So, but it was the point for Cuba to get that first win, and they needed to before the international break
Yeah,
just to give them a bit of a confidence boost as well. So that was
exactly. Yeah,
vital.
exactly. And I think I was also good for Richard Corney to end up getting a goal. This quick into his QPR tenure, because obviously, as we know, it's like he's a lad making the step up from one of them making the step up from League One to the Championship. So that's always nice to see for him. But yeah, both teams on 4 points. Just got to see how they continue after the break.
Absolutely as well. Let's move on to Brett Feast's five stage. And despite Ryan Mason was in the stands after due to his touchline ban, West Brom did come away with a 1-0 win against Stoke. Nat Phillips scored his first West Brom goal. A bit of a mistake by Victor Janssen,
Yeah, I was looking at that.
leading of
Yeah.
the goal.
Well, that's the thing, because Victor Hansen's not one you associate with those type of mistakes, because Victor Hansen is a bloody good goalkeeper. I remember when we played against Stoke, I was growing sick of him turning into Superman practically every time you throw something at him. Even if you throw like a worldie that's creeping at the top corner, he manages to just get a fingertip on it or something and just does something that's unnaturally superhuman to stop you from scoring. Like, he's a freakishly good goalkeeper at championship level. But yeah, here he was pretty and wasn't just that either. There was a couple of shaky moments in the build up to the corner that led to the goal. So yeah, it wasn't particularly great from him, but from Nat Phillips, absolutely, of course. You can end up getting, and for West Brom as well. By the way, remember you're going to Stoke, who's on the back of 3 straight wins in the Championship, and now West Brom are on 10 points, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good. One of the signings I do rate for them, and again, this from a Sunderland perspective, Chris Metham signed for them from Bournemouth earlier in the week, and I'm a big, big fan of this signing for West Brom. I think that is one where, and I believe the fee wasn't very much either. I think it was something like 1.5 million quid. So for that fee, tell you what, that's got to be one of the, for me, that is one of the signings of the window across the Championship.
Yeah.
But and even then, so I think, but this is a typical sort of a good away performance, if you like. It's obviously hard for people to quantify what a good away performance is, but for me, it's all about quietening the home crowd down, doing a professional job. Even if you get a 0-0 or you get a sneaky 1-0, you end up doing it. Um, you end up, being so solid, hard to break down. And Stoke did have chances, to be fair. Divin and Barmer had at least one very good chance,
Yeah.
that ended up hitting the post. So it was a very tricky environment for West Brom to thrive in. But fair play to them, they've done really, really well. And from Ryan Mason again, like when we're talking about new bosses, he can't complain with his start either. So it's what 10 points out of a possible 12, and
Yeah.
they had contention to they had some, if it weren't for some contentious circumstances, they could have beaten Pompey as well. Could have been on 12. I could have been on 12 points themselves, but yeah, I think that West Brom are going to be. This strikes me yesterday from what I saw of the highlights, and again I stress it's off the highlights, not the full game, but it felt to me like a Carlos Corberán West Brom sort of performance,
It
um,
did very
in
much.
a good
Yeah.
way. Obviously, in a very good way. That I think that will, if that is the case, that will stand them in very, very good stead. I think going away from home this season, I think West Brom will be a very, very hard team to beat this season. And for Stoke, I mean, look, obviously, as Ant said himself, because Victor Hansen has set his standards so high. Yeah, absolutely. Victor Hansen's got high standards for himself across the championship, so it's good. Obviously, he'll bounce back from it. We know that Victor Hansen's a really good goalkeeper at this level. So, um, with Stoke, I think again after the last few years, I think the Stoke fans would take just a bit of excitement. To be honest, like a bit of optimism, and maybe Mark Robinson's slow starts was just a Coventry City thing. We don't know, because at
Mm,
the minute he seems to have obviously got, what was it, 9, and even though they would have been disappointed to have lost yesterday, if you look at it from a Stoke point of view, if you swap the last two results round and you lose 1-0 at Southampton, but you beat West Brom 2-1, I
yeah.
think more West Brom. I think Stoke fans would probably have been more content with it. But I think everyone who's sitting there and looking back at it from a Stoke persuasion, 9 points out of 12. You should be over the moon with that, and at least going to the international break in third place. So it's obviously, again, it's early days, and obviously only around about 10 to 15 games, I'd say, is when the table really when it really can actually starts to form to what you're going to be expecting to see. But yeah, so Stoke, no disgrace on them, but for West Brom, cracking result in really, really difficult circumstances.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so indeed. Let's go to Ewood Park. After Blackburn went down to 10 men in the 2-0 defeat to Norwich, which is another consecutive
Yeah, Sean
home
McGotton
defeat.
sent off.
Yeah. Goals both from Josh Sargent in the penalty and later the game in the 91st minute. Looks like now things are, finally they got the back-to-back away wins now. The Canaries under Liam Manning. Is this a good time to get that win before the international break?
Not just with that, but with the news about Marcelino Nunes swapping the divide to go to Ipswich, which I was staggered by when I first saw that. Quickly on that, I mean, Annie, I think, put it in the chat, didn't he? And he went, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?" And I was like, wait, whoa, that can't be right. No way. And hey, Dark Knight Rises, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. There he is.
Even Annie?
There he is. Funny enough, we were just mentioning how you put the news in the group chat about Marcelino Nunes going, "No, I don't fancy Norwich. I fancy going to Ipswich instead." Which was like, your reaction was exactly the same as mine. Well, I've already swore anyway, so when we went, "What the fuck?" I'm like, Jesus Christ. Directly leaving your club to go to your rivals, that is not something in there. But yeah, but what I think the transfer of Nunes means, I can now see Norwich keeping Josh Sargent. Unless a mental offer comes in on deadline day, and even then they'd have to replace him if he gets sold on deadline day. I don't think Sargent leaves now. I think he ends up, when you bear in mind they've obviously sold, not Gabriel Sara, who is it? Boris Signs and Marcelino Nunes for around about between 20-25 million quid, depending if you include add-ons in it or not. But sorry, Carl, to answer your question, as far as this game's concerned, obviously when Sean McGlotton gets sent off for Blackburn in the lead up to the penalty for Sargent's first, obviously the onus is then on Sargent to go and score the penalty, which of course is Josh Sargent. Of course he scores penalties, and of course he scores goals in this league. It's like that phrase that Thanos does in Avengers, where he just goes that Josh Sargent's inevitable in the Championship. He's just one of the best players in the league, let alone the best strikers. So yeah, really important win for Norwich. Obviously, I think the big thing for them is they need to sort their home form out, because I believe they lost to Millwall and Middlesbrough, but
Yeah.
obviously had away wins and obviously they lost to Southampton in the cup. But I think there's bigger fish to fry for Norwich than that. But yeah, away win, but fair play. Away wins at Portsmouth, which last season I believe 3 of the top 4 at Pompey didn't win there last season. If I'm right, I think Leeds lost, and I think Burnley
Yes.
and Sheffield United.
Leeds lost as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Burnley and Sheffield United drew. So that obviously was a tough place last year, and Norwich didn't win there either. And obviously Blackburn, yeah, okay, the red card did help things, but you can only play what's put in front of you. So yeah, not a bad start for Norwich, and it is quite amusing how Marcelino Nunes goes to Ipswich, and yet Norwich are 3 points above them at the moment. But obviously, it's a long, long way to go. And I
Yeah.
have a feeling, and does approve of what the media team at Ipswich did when Marcelino Nunes was announced. I want to quickly ask you two, what do you two think about that? Marcelino Nunes going from Norwich City to Ipswich Town.
Annie, I'll let you start off with that first, actually.
That is, I think my reaction in the group chat, I think is still probably valid.
How you feel now? Yeah.
Yeah. I was perplexed. I was like, I'm pretty sure there was a game on in the Premier League maybe at that point, or some game on. And I was just scrolling through Twitter and I saw a group chat where it was a John Percy tweet, so I always click on one of the
Yeah, he's
links.
quite accurate, to be fair, isn't he?
Yeah, and I click on it. I was like, oh, this will be like a Midlands thing, Derby or West Brom signing someone. Nope, exclusive. Norwich, Ipswich are signing Marcelino Nunes from Norwich. I thought, what is going on? This must be a fake account. I had to check; it was a real John Percy about 3 times. Yeah, just craziness. And I think Liam Manning's sort of the quotes I've read after yesterday's game, where he says, Marcelino Nunes was, pretty clear with me once he came. He had a slight dig at him as well. He said he wanted to play. He didn't want to play in the Championship, so not sure why he's gone to Ipswich. But there you go. I was absolutely perplexed. And it's great money for Norwich, because last year of his contract, 7.5 million straight up, and then that could potentially achievable add-ons.
I know.
What does that even mean?
Promotion, probably. or
Anyway,
appearance clauses.
Ipswich finally beating Norwich. Yeah. But
Yeah, you're referring to Benjamin Bloom there, aren't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
great YouTube. Yeah, I saw him on Norwich City. That was quite funny.
Um, or Nunez scoring again in the East Anglian derby.
Do you remember? Here's one. See if Carl knows this, because Annie's probably going to know this. Who was the last player to score a winning goal in the East Anglian derby?
Nunez.
Yes. It was Marcelino Nunez in a 1-0 Norwich win against Ipswich in April 2024.
It's a great free kick as well, boy. That was
Oh, it
Yeah, I
was.
remember that. I remember the free kick as well. Yeah, I forgot about
Oh, yeah,
that
of
free
course, Carl would have been paying attention to it because it was relevant to you guys at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
But
was.
yeah,
It
that was.
was.
Bet you couldn't have imagined that. Like that the narrative's just sort of set, isn't it? So yeah, I can. Part of me did think of Ant when I first saw that tweet, because I thought that's the type of shithousery he's gonna love, knowing what his personality's like. But yeah, I mean, I was like Annie. I was absolutely perplexed when I saw it. Absolutely perplexed.
And Nunez, from his point of view, obviously he's not, from the area or from England. He's Chilean, but it's just you've got to think about what you're actually doing. And look, again, understand unbelievable money for Norwich. This is a PR disaster, isn't it? Like what this is shooting yourselves in, not in the foot, shooting yourselves in the face.
I don't know about that. I think Ant's just,
Media team. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Ipswich, yeah, okay, but at Norwich, like
yeah, Norwich, fair, yeah.
the Norwich fans aren't like going to say. There was one quote which I actually quoted in my latest video. I said, "I support a football club, not a bank balance, and this is more than just a bank balance.
yeah.
This is literally, this is not about £7.5 million. This is someone crossing the divide, a historical divide that I think it was how many years? 24 years since Andy Marshall did it, and he
Something like
joined on
that,
a free.
Yeah, Andy Marshall was the last player, wasn't he, to join
Yeah, so I don't know. I think just from an emotional sort of fan perspective, if you're an Ipswich fan, you're obviously going, he's ditched you for us, and if you're a Norwich fan, you're going, why? Just why? What are you doing? What's your thought process? And okay, yeah, you might in the long term and over the course of the season, come May, Ipswich might well have a better chance of promotion than Norwich. Who knows? That doesn't look like it at the moment, but I'd
long
expect
season. So yeah, I might do.
I'd expect that to happen.
yeah.
But it's just come on, like that is one bold move, and I think he's a bit lucky. The first East Anglian derby is at Portman Road, because if it was at Carrow Road, Jesus,
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it'd
to
be
be
hell
honest,
to pay. Yeah, it'd be hell. Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I don't think it's gonna. I think it doesn't make a difference which ones first. Because I think Norwich fans will rightly not forget that, and I think the only way I think that Nunez is gonna go off scot-free is if he happens to be injured for the East Anglian derby and doesn't play. But let's just say it.
injured.
Oh yeah, true. Sorry. Oh, I broke my fingernail in training. I can't play, mate. So yeah, It's going to make the East Anglian derby what I already quite like as a fixture anyway. Mainly because I like Tottenham Norwich City and Chris Reeve if he's watching this, but I don't think he will be. But yeah, it's added an extra element of spice to it. But yeah, sorry, Carl, to get you back to Blackburn nil Norwich too. I mean, I think Blackburn will probably point to the red card as a factor in why they ended up losing the game.
Mm.
But from Norwich's point of view, yep, absolutely going into international break. And I think, again, I'll ask you to this. Do you think now, with Nunez going to Ipswich, with Boris Signs having already been sold, does Josh Sargent leave now? Because I think he stays now, personally.
The celebration after his second goal, where he does. I'm going to mute my mic for this.
Yeah. That does
Yeah,
sounds like that sounds like he's there beyond 7 p.m. tomorrow night at Norwich.
yeah.
I can't see him going anywhere.
And the caveat is anything can change, so we're protected by that, because anything can happen very quickly, but I'd be very surprised if he left now, personally.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't know.
No,
And he is the captain, isn't he?
He is now. Yeah,
He's
I think
got the
that
captain's armband.
responsibility.
Anyway,
Yeah, that responsibility is coming in now. Actually, especially it's reminding me what is going on at Hearts when Lawrence Shankly is now taking responsibility as that captain, and that's been the vital thing. I think Josh Shankly will like that, a striker taking the responsibility. So I think, yeah, I can't see him going anywhere now, probably till next summer now, to quite honestly. And I think Norwich will cash him out at a good price. So
Yeah, and by the way, that's massive news for Norwich if Sargent stays. Yes, okay, there's obviously my concern with him, of course, is his injury record and how many times he's fit in the season, but there's no getting away from it. I think if you got even 30 games out of him, he gets probably 20 goals. That's how good he is.
yeah,
So I think that's on the back of. I almost feel like Norwich kind of needs to keep Sargent now, if you know what I mean, off the back of the Nunes stuff.
Yeah.
So it would look very disastrous from their point of view if they sold Nunes to Ipswich and then ended up selling Sargent off the back of it.
Well, in a way, if Sargent did leave, I think Nunes would have stayed because then he would have been the next,
Yeah,
talent.
possibly. But
Yeah,
the thing is as well, I mean, Sargent's got 3 years left on his contract, hasn't he? Runs
yeah.
to
So he's
2028.
got
So,
loads of time
yeah.
on that deal. So
So if you're, yeah, go on, sorry, go on.
I think Norwich will play it by a finger if the bid if any German clubs bid again in January, they will have to pay a higher price now
Yeah.
than they originally did. I think it was about £20 million. I think they'll have to pay a high profit now, especially
Yeah.
it's the World Cup year, and he's going to be part of the US men's national team in the World Cup next summer. So
Yeah, I think as well, though. I think Sargent doesn't leave in January. I think if he stays now, he stays till next summer. Personally, because I think from Norwich's point of view, and especially if Norwich are in a position where they're challenging for at least a playoff place, then I'm looking at that and I'm going. If I was Sargent, I'm sort of thinking, right, I could leave and go somewhere else, but bear in mind it's a World Cup year, and yes, it's in the Championship, but there's plenty of players in the Championship that'll be going towards the World Cup. We've even seen players from League One sides before go to the Euros, for example. So I think for me, it's bad. I think if you're Sargent, if you know you're playing every week, the international coaches, head coaches are going to want to pick you off the back of having a good season, aren't they? They're going to want to pick you off the back of playing regularly. So yeah, but I'm with you, Carl. Actually, I think if I think Nunes would have stayed if Sargent left, and maybe although obviously crossing the divide is not a good thing, but at the same time, I think if I'm attempting to try and get in Norwich's head on this, maybe they're thinking, yes, it's to Ipswich, and again that is still shit, but if that enabled them to keep Sargent for a player who's going to leave, and I believe he's had contract extensions and he hasn't
yeah.
contract offers that hasn't been signed, but of course we don't know what money he would have been offered. It could have been really, really bad money. But for a player who's going to leave anyway, we could. It's worth taking the storm of him going to Ipswich if it means we keep our best player.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, Norwich fans won't see it like that at the minute, which is fair enough. But that's just, I'm suspecting that might be the thought process behind it.
I think that is a very good. It's a good thought process, as you said. I think they wouldn't be thinking like that in a way. What's the biggest risk they could take? What's the least risk they could take? And I think selling Nunes to your championship to your rivals in across the East Anglia, is better than losing
Yeah.
Sargent. So which is vital for his goals. So yeah, I 100% concur on that one completely. Let's go to Portman Road. And Derby could have nearly gone away with 3 points, but Ipswich scored late on in the 160th minute of the
boy
game.
Jack Clark. There we go.
I know your boy Jack Clark scored the equaliser in the 2-2 draw against Derby. But we have to come to the controversial in the game. Should Lewis Travis should have been sent off? Especially the way,
Yes.
yeah. Come on, it's a foregone conclusion.
It's I don't know what he's doing. I think it's on Kiosk, isn't it? And yeah, can't do that. He just stamps on him, and he's ridiculous. And the horrible thing, the horrible thing about it is, from a refereeing perspective, he is literally about 5 yards away from the incident. And yeah, Lewis Travis is really lucky. Probably expect that. Not expect that, obviously, but
expect Ant to really like Lewis Travis nearly injuring someone.
I expect that. I really expect that. But you expect that sort of S-housery level from Travis. But yeah, that's a horrible challenge, isn't it? I don't know if you guys have talked about Middlesbrough City.
We did.
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
Yeah, I don't know which one's worse, but yeah, that is not good. It should have probably been a red card. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously there's the controversy around that. But I think if we're looking at just the results, I mean, obviously that's 3 draws and a loss for Ipswich now, and I believe, is it the same for Derby? Is it 2 draws and 2 defeats now? Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the thing we talk about from Derby that's really good is that 4 games in a row Carlton Morris has scored now.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is. Yeah, so that's positive. I actually thought Rhian Brewster took his goal really, really well. That was a really, really good sort of solo run there. Obviously, Jacob Greaves put Ipswich ahead in the first half. I think Jack Clark's penalty spared Ipswich's blushes a little bit. I think this is a game that if you're Ipswich, you needed to, especially with all the injuries that Derby have got at the moment. I don't know how many of them are back actually for this game, but I would imagine if they are, they're not going to be fully match fit. So it was a chance for Ipswich to get their first win on the board. And although obviously, and I agree with what Annie said last week, I think with that Ipswich is still missing that sort of midfielder that gives them a bit better balance. But at the same time, I did think they would have won a game by this point. But yeah, I mean, Jack Clark, got to talk about him. The nerves of steel to step up and take that. What was it? 106th minute penalty, which obviously I think that was probably the last kick of the game. I think.
Yeah, 106. Yeah, it was the last kick of the game. 106
So yeah,
yeah.
so if you're Ipswich, if you're looking at it remotely as a positive, at least it gets them something and could help build a bit of momentum a little bit. But either way, yeah, there's obviously a big improvement needed for both sides. Obviously, Derby with John Eustace, there's going to be the injuries, and of course, Derby. Annie might want to cover his ears for the next 10 seconds. But Derby on the beneficiary of a late equaliser last week. Okay, you're all right now, and then conceded a late equaliser this week. So obviously, it's the whirlwind of the championship for you. So would you say it's still this? I still say this is a better point for Derby, even though it was a 106-minute penalty in the context of things. Because yeah, I mean, obviously the context would make you feel like Ipswich might be more grateful for the point, but
Derby, I think, yeah,
you could argue either way. But I would imagine that I think Derby going into the game would have certainly been far happier with a draw than I think Ipswich would have been.
yeah, I also agree with that. Yeah, I do as well. Actually, I'm surprised even Ipswich spent nearly 20 million euros on Sinja Walivegi from Nordsjælland, from which is the largest incoming sum in the championship.
That's a championship record fee spent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very quick. I'm not even going to ask what Annie's laughing at because I'm not even sure I want to know.
We've signed someone.
So is that why he's like just in stunned silence? That he's like,
no, the video.
Is this the Middlesbrough left back?
Yeah, the video to announce him was hilarious. It was Eric Cantona playing the drums, whatever it was. So.
Fair enough then. But yeah, so and well, quickly we mentioned the Norwich perspective. What about the Ipswich perspective with Nunes? What do you think from that? Because how would you rate the signing for them?
That's exactly what they need, isn't it? It's a midfielder who's got that creative element in him. You've got Matt Seaver, who's probably the sitter, the deep midfielder, who's probably going to be a little bit more defensive player than six. Then you've got Nunes or Just, who's probably the more sort of progressive midfielders, who play while they're more occupied by the other one. So yeah, they've got better options now, and since Birmingham game, I think they've really done well to sort of upgrade what they have in the midfield, and they've done a good job of refurbishing.
And also as well, are we going to talk about how Annie now really wants Bristol City to sign Charles Ogbene from Ipswich?
Yeah,
it was actually Connor Chapman. But if Chio Ogbene wants to come here, absolutely no problem.
Well, why not go? Why one or the other? Go for both.
Right, yeah.
Just casually go for both, yeah. Ipswich, can you just casually pay 50, say 75% of their wages, and we'll take them off your hands, and we'll give you a quarter of what wages they're on. But yeah. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if this result catapults Ipswich a bit more after the international break. Obviously, Ipswich play Sheffield United in the next game. I think that's the Friday night football game. I think Michael might have mentioned it in the chat earlier. So Ipswich against Sheffield United. So two of the winless sides, and obviously the one who's gone. Obviously Sheffield United who have 0 points at the moment. So yeah, it kind of obviously McKenna's shouldn't be under any pressure at the minute because obviously I think a lot of their fans remember that he got them double promotion. And in the year they went up to the championship, they were competing against three big financial heavy hitters that year. So that's incredible. But yeah, I think obviously, hopefully for Ipswich, it's a case of one. If we get one win, then hopefully it starts to build up again.
Yep, 100% agree with that. And I think deep down, I think this is a good sign for Ipswich, which is needed. But like I said, I think it's a good point for Derby to get to over this past weekend. So 100% really focus. I think they'll, despite Carlton Morris has been scoring 4 goals across 4 games, it's been fantastic completely. And it's a good player for Derby that they need.
Yeah, sorry, no, absolutely. Sorry, I was half listening to what you were saying. I was looking at the other results. But yeah, no, I think from John Eustace's point of view, he'll sort of, in the general state of things at Derby, he'll see the defensive injuries that they've had and everything else that he's had to come up against, and so I think they can be quite proud of themselves. Yeah, they were minutes away, they were seconds away from winning at Portman Road. So I don't think there's going to be too much complaints. Obviously, after the first two games, obviously getting a couple of draws on the board will just sort of keep things steadily ticking over, and we'll keep things just making sure that just get a couple of points here and there. And I'm pretty sure at some point the wins will come. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, like I said, but obviously the good thing is they've got a striker in form as well in Carlton Morris, who will, well, he's already nearly halfway to double figures, isn't he? So we'll see. But yeah, I think both teams will be all right.
Yeah, yeah, both teams will be all right as well. Let's go to actually finally Wexham get their first win of the new championship season. They beat Millwall 2-0 this past weekend after goals from Kiefer Moore and Lewis O'Brien as well. Finally, they got the win which they needed, and against a really good, against a really good Millwall side who dominated the possession.
Yeah, go on, Annie. You want to take that one?
No, I was going to say that this is a typical sort of Wrexham Phil Parkinson, as a fly goes right near me, as a sort of Phil Parkinson away win. So sit in, be compact, then yeah, Kiefer Moore, what a just such a good championship striker, and he's going to pop up in the right places. It's not great from Stephen Bender, the Millwall goal, who I thought was very, very good at Sheffield United, but yeah, just got to put them away, and Kiefer Moore does. And yeah, the second goal is after. It's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a freak because there's that long sort of injury delay with Danny Ward, who got stretchered off after Okonkwo came on, who actually made a good save after he came on, and then obviously go up the other end. Lewis O'Brien finishes it for 2-0. But yeah, really important for Wrexham to go and win it. I didn't expect them to do that, to be honest. I really didn't, but there we are, and that's a really impressive win. Actually, it's really if we're saying about Middlesbrough, who went to Millwall and won 3-0 a couple of weeks ago, and saying, "Oh, that's a statement win." I've got to say,
Oh, you've got to say that for Wrexham as well. Yeah, absolutely.
It's an unbelievable win, and that's exactly sort of the typical away performance you'd expect from Wrexham. And you never know. Yeah, they've had a bit of a slow start, and they probably should have picked up more points than they should have done. They were 2-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. They were a bit unlucky at Southampton. They probably should have sealed that game off before it went to 2-2. But yeah, they've won, and you never know with the volume of signings they've made. They look like they'll be doing some more tomorrow.
Ben Sheaf,
apparently, and Zach Viner, who is obviously a Bristol City centre back. I don't want him to go there.
I wonder why.
I don't want to lose Zach Viner. Anyway, let's turn this into a City conversation. Yeah, so they look like they'll be signing more players, and they've made a lot of signings for a lot of money, and you've got to give that a little bit of time to bed in, because they have changed over quite a lot from what has been a team that's been sort of slowly added into in League Two and League One. So yeah, I think giving Parkinson a bit of time would be fair. There's obviously pressure on him because he spent a lot of money. He's got to have some sort of results. This is a good one. It's a really good one. So yeah, a good win for Wrexham, and definitely alleviates a lot of pressure off Parkinson for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Ben Sheaf might be likely to join Wrexham by tomorrow for nearly £7 million, which, like I said, that is going to be a huge move to get him as well. Just surprisingly, just to ask you guys, bit disappointed that Alex Neil was a bit disappointed with the result. Did it capitalize on their chances yesterday, and an even opportunity to level late on in the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every team manager will be disappointed when a team doesn't take its chances. I think the thing with Millwall that I find interesting, actually, is it's a bit similar to Norwich, isn't it? They've lost their 2 home games and won their 2 away games. So maybe they need to just make sure they just play away every week, same as Norwich, to be honest. But it's weird because the 2 wins Millwall have got away from home have been 2 very impressive results for me. Okay, Sheffield United in the grand scheme of things doesn't look impressive at the minute, but over the course of the season, I think that will prove to be a very, very good result. You're looking at them winning away at Norwich on opening day as well. And obviously, and if you look at the 2 home games, obviously they had the chance late on here to level the game at 1-1. But then you also had the Middlesbrough game where they had created some very good chances and didn't take them. So, look, remove my feelings towards Alex Neil aside. Like, he is a very good Championship manager, and I think obviously Millwall, well, I think there was a common joke that Millwall were constantly tipped to be a dark horse for the playoffs, but so much so they can't be a dark horse anymore because everyone seems to think they'll be one. So, but yeah, like I said, I think obviously they need to sort their home form out a bit, but I think more than anything, I think it was more of an important game for Wrexham in that regard, and that they needed to get their first win. But I've got no doubt in my mind Millwall will be challenging and will be right up there.
Yeah, yeah, I think Millwall will be fine during the rest of the season. They will be challenging again for the playoffs completely. Let's move on to the Kassam stage where a good draw for Oxford United after Cameron Brangan scored in the 75th minute in the 2-2 draw against Coventry. Was it a missed opportunity, Annie, for Coventry to get the win yesterday?
Before Annie says anything, can I just say we had 2 very, very good free kicks in this game.
We did.
Yes, the Victor Torp one is so good because you see
The
so many.
accuracy is brilliant.
Yeah, because you see so many players from a similar position try and put it in that place, and it just hits the wall on the top of the wall and gets deflected or comes back out. But the dip on it is just beautiful. And we had obviously the Dominic Szoboszlai one today as well with Liverpool, which I thought was just ridiculous. The spin on that, yeah, brilliant. Few great free kicks this weekend. Coventry should have finished the game off 2-1 up. Ephron Mason Clark missed a golden opportunity at 2-1. That should have been the game. But he misses, and you give Cameron Brannigan space. You give Cameron Brannigan an opportunity to do something like that.
We know how good he is, don't we?
More often than not, he'll take. He's got the technical quality to do that, and yeah, just a brilliant, sort of very clever in it because it's hard to go over the top from that position. Victor Torp might have done it, but he goes around and does it brilliantly because that's Cameron Brannigan. He's a quality player. So yeah, brilliant from Oxford. Brilliant free kicks and some sort of fight shown from them. A bit more attacking quality in the final third from Oxford as well, which is good to see. And the first point on the board just gets them off the mark, but still, I don't think it's been a great start from Oxford. I still am a little bit concerned about them, and they're probably one of the teams looking at going, sign some attackers, please, because you really need a little bit more reinforcement, a bit more of an X factor going forward. But yeah, a good point for them. And Coventry still scoring goals for fun and still look a very good attacking threat. Haji Wright hit the bar at the end as well, didn't he? So yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned because they've drawn away a team who would be down near the bottom. But yeah, a good point for Oxford. It's not a bad point for Coventry. They're still unbeaten. So yeah, both teams move on, I guess.
It's good to see the Coventry for once have actually started reasonably well. Obviously, there's obviously you're probably still in the first 10 games, you're still kind of looking at it as the start of the season. But obviously with Coventry, they've usually probably got about 3-4 points at this stage of the season usually. So I think that it was important. So it's obviously, yeah, it's disappointing because obviously Oxford hadn't got any points before that stage. But again, I think you're looking at the Kassam Stadium. I think that Gary Rowett will always keep Oxford competitive in that regard. So, but yeah, Annie's right. I think the 2 free kicks are brilliant, and obviously for Oxford, it's a really good point to come back from behind twice. I think they came from behind twice. They weren't 2-0 down, were they? No, it was behind twice. Yeah, ignore me.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Annie says, it's a solid point for Oxford. Still have concerns about them going into the season. But yeah, from Coventry's point of view, 2 draws, 2 wins, not a bad start. And the fact they've only scored 14 goals in the last 3 games, not prolific enough, clearly.
Yeah.
Of course, Ant's going off in the comments. Absolutely.
I know.
No, it's not good start. You enjoy their usual starts much more.
Absolutely.
Lads, just think. 3 weeks' time. Leicester City versus Coventry City. Oh, that's, with what we know Ant's going to be like, that is going to be absolutely blockbuster.
Yeah, very much so. Let's go to Friday Park. Preston's unbeaten start to the championship ended in a narrow defeat against Port. So a goal from Andrew Dozov after his goal was deflected in, a 1-0 win. Really good win for Pompey. Guys, was that the win they needed just the international, before the international break? Because, like I said, Preston came on a good form the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's obviously, again, it's kind of this strikes me as kind of the nature of the Championship for Preston when you think about it. When they've beaten Leicester and they've beaten Ipswich and then they go and lose away at Portsmouth, but that again is the Championship. So really important, obviously, as we know for Pompey's point of view. I think it was Pompey's first home win of the season, wasn't it? Oh yeah, because they had
Yeah.
they won away. Let me get this right. They won away at Oxford, lost to Norwich, drew away at West Brom, which is a really good point, and then back it up with a win here. So I think. I mean, obviously Annie first, but I think everybody's spoken about John Messino and sung his praises with what he's done at Portsmouth. So, all in all, again, and I think I'd say the same with Preston. I think both teams have had very, very solid starts. 7 points from the first 4, and when you consider, particularly with Preston, who they've had to play 2 of the fancy teams in Leicester and Ipswich, you can't knock that. And I think obviously Portsmouth away again, as I said, it's going to be. I think it's still going to be a very, very hard place to go. So I wouldn't judge Preston too harshly on like not getting anything here, but yeah, really, really, really good win for Portsmouth, and it just sort of keeps things ticking along nicely for them going into an international break.
Yeah, it certainly does as well. It certainly does. Let's go to Hillsborough. What a win for Swansea City to win against Sheffield Wednesday, 2-0 yesterday. Zan Vitponic, scored 3 goals this season. He managed 7 last season. He's kind of nearly halfway there as well. And also, because he's been speculation on his future, will he be there before tomorrow even? Because if Swansea do get Adam Medea from Celtic, that could really boost their hopes to challenge in the top half this season.
Well, I don't know about the other striking, situation, but yeah, it looks like Adamida's coming in for quite a lot of money as well. I haven't watched Zidane Inusa too much, but is he a? Yeah, he's a winger, isn't he? So, uh, yeah, I'd have thought that Potnik and Ida would probably play. They'd be the 2 strikers that Sheehan has, which is a decent uh, 2 to have. And then you've got Liam Cullen, you've got Josh Ginnelly, you've got options there for Swansea who can play. Up top, it looks a lot better than it did last season anyway. That was probably a target position for them. So yeah, but I mean, Adabida, I think is a really, really good signing from Celtic. Yeah, it's a good start for Swansea. They lost on opening day, didn't they? But they've got 7 points from the last 3 games, and they've sort of ticked along nicely. They beat Sheffield United. They drew against Watford, and they've beaten Sheffield Wednesday here. So yeah, a good win. Obviously, most teams will look at Sheffield Wednesday this season and go, right, we can really go there and sort of
Pick up 3 points.
pick up 3 points. Yeah, go and win the game. But still not an easy place to go. Hillsborough still quite an intimidating place for teams. So despite everything that's going on there and potential strikes and boycotts and stuff like that, but still a good win for Swansea. They looked like they were in control, and I really liked Ronaldo's goal, the second goal, I think.
Yeah.
It was, where it was a touch. It was crisp. It was crisp passing. It wasn't just work it wide and then find space and then put it in the blocks. They knew exactly what they're doing. Get it into the edge of the box and then work it nicely. And it's a lovely finish from Ronaldo as well. And Swansea are ticking along quite nicely, and they've had a pretty decent start to the season.
Absolutely, they have. They've had a really, really good start as well. Especially what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday, guys. Listen, they beat us in the Carabao Cup this week with a emerging goalkeeper and a very young squad. It's just it just don't bring the false promises. After you knocked out your Yorkshire rivals, and then you lose and then you lose back in a losing streak. Where does it end for them completely?
Well, hopefully with the sale from Chancery to a party that's actually going to progress them. But like we've said many times, that doesn't seem to be, unless something's really bubbling away underneath the surface that's kept unbelievably quiet. It doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. And I think I've already said my piece loads of times. I think this isn't good enough for Sheffield Wednesday. Like I've said, I believe that they're a club that should be challenging on the periphery of getting into the Premier League. But at the minute, they're a long way off it, and Chancery is the main reason for it. You'll know this better than me, Carl, because I believe you would have watched it. But in midweek against you lot, did they? Am I right in thinking there was no Chef Wed fans there? Is that right?
There was a quite small number. It wasn't that it was so the north stand was completely emptied. It was completely
Right,
empty.
okay.
So no one was in the north stand except for only the south, the main stand and our fans and some. So it was virtually very half empty. So much, it
Right.
wasn't. A lot of the Leeds fans did go to the game, but yeah, it was virtually empty.
Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? Because obviously for Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds is a huge game, isn't it? So, whatever the competition, and the fact that a lot of people are voting with their feet pretty much and not going to that, I think tells you everything you need to know about how dire the situation is. And I'd recommend watching. There's a YouTuber called Conor McGilligan. I don't know if you know him. He's a Leeds fan.
Yeah,
He
no,
was
Conor
the
McGill. Yeah,
one Leeds. Yeah. So, but he put I think it was on one Leeds. Obviously, he was talking about the result from a Leeds perspective, but he mentioned how bad things were at Sheffield Wednesday about how people haven't been paid, how there's a threat of probably administration. There's a threat that's obviously the North. Is it one? Which stand is it? The one that's closed?
it was a north stand until it
Yeah,
recently closed until it got the
deemed
safe.
safe to open again.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it's just everything's just catastrophic. And unless either of you two have got anything new to add, I'm getting quite tired of saying the same old chance here he's ruining Wednesday and he needs to sell for things to get better because I'm just kicking a dead horse by saying it.
it's more than kicking the can down the road at the moment.
I probably yeah.
I don't think there's anything we can say much about it. It's just
Nothing that's up been said already. Yeah.
yeah,
But the one thing I will say from a view that makes Sheffield Wednesday fans give a slight bit of humour. If you'd said to me at the end of August, Sheffield Wednesday will be above Sheffield United in the table with everything that's going on there, you probably would have been laughed to death about it.
mm,
So that says, I mean, obviously Sheffield Wednesday things are bad there, but it says how bad things have been at Sheffield United when they're the only team left not to have even got a point. So yeah, that's one slight bit of humour, but it's really you're clutching there, aren't you? Like we've just said it all over again, and the sooner that moron fucks off, the better.
yeah. There was only 7,000 fans in on Hillsborough on in the
I was
second
going to
round.
say, and I'm guessing a good probably 5,000 of them would have been Leeds fans.
Very much so. Yeah,
Yeah. So unless Annie's got anything new to say about it, but yeah, just disaster from Chansiri again.
I think we've talked about it more than enough. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
yeah. I think we've got to a point now in terms of talking about it generally where we've kind of stopped talking about Chansiri and we've started to stop talking about it like as the media, the general. We shouldn't because it's a mess, and I think we've all got a responsibility if you're on social media and stuff to just keep talking about it and
Keep it in the
keep
public light, yeah.
keep putting pressure on them basically
yeah,
for all the responsible parties to try and find a way to get Chansiri out because it's a right mess. That football club, it's a right
yeah.
mess.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. It is. Another entertaining draw at Vicarage Road between Watford and Southampton. Both Nestori Ikunda and Ryan Mann got some a bit of good
Another
free.
game with great free kicks.
Yeah, in the 2-2 draw as well. Which team well, who was the best point for Watford or for Southampton?
Watford, as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know whether
Yeah,
Andy disagrees or not. Yeah, I'd say it's Watford. I think that look again the transition from what they were doing with Russell Martin last season. Well, obviously I know Russell Martin wasn't there the full year, but obviously a lot of Southampton last year would have been under his blueprint. So to go from that to what Will Still's trying to do, it's obviously going to take a bit of time. But I think if you're Southampton, you're probably going to be a bit disappointed with the start, I would say, in terms of the points that you've accumulated. Obviously, you didn't get, to not at least get something against Stoke when they were down to 10 men, even though Stoke have started brilliantly. Watford isn't the easiest of places to go, don't get me wrong. And I think a point's not a bad result for Southampton per se, but I think it is a better one for Watford. Bearing in mind, obviously, Southampton were in front twice, weren't they? And they'll be disappointed that they took the lead with Ryan Manning's stunning goal, free kick. And then less than 3 minutes later, Iran Kunda scores a fantastic free kick himself to get Watford level. So I think it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those entertaining sort of draws. It's obviously good to see Cameron Archer get a goal because obviously he's not endured the best of times since going to Southampton. I think at this level, and I've said it before, I mean, Ben Brereton Diaz obviously has since gone to Derby, I believe, today. Which, by the way, quickly on that, that's a fantastic signing for Derby. I really
yeah,
rate that. And I forgot to mention it earlier. But even with Cameron Archer and you've got Adam Armstrong, that's still more than enough potent firepower to help you get goals in this division. Obviously, they've since sold is Matias Fernandez to West Ham over the last few days. But look, again, I've got no doubt that once players get used to the way Will still wants to play, then I think that they will start to climb up the table and will be challenging for at least to be in the playoffs. But I think for Watford, fairly solid point. Being behind twice against the team with one of the bigger budgets in the division, I don't think there's too much complaining about it from their point of view to get something out of it. And at least it means that, both Southampton and Watford are on 5 points. So at least it sort of keeps both teams ticking over to some degree. But there's no getting away from me. I think Watford will be the happier of the two. The fact that it ended a draw.
Yeah, fair. That's a fair point. I think good draw for Watford. I think will is still getting used to finding his feet. In the Championship completely. He knows now going to teams like Watford and stuff are going to be difficult games. So if Reece was still, he would have done
I was
another
just
world.
about to say, thank God Reece in here.
But he's actually doing his WWE Clash in Paris live watch along, so he's busy tonight anyway. So
you'll find a way to still incorporate the Will Still thing into that, though.
Probably will do, yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put it past Reece. So, yeah. But I'll leave it at that before we try to attempt to go on to the Will Still stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's go to our promoter game before we get on to Annie's Bristol City shortly. Birmingham City's unbeaten run came to an end after the loss 2-0 away at Leicester on Friday Night Football. Abdul Fattah's scored.
Drunk Ant.
I was just
Drunk Ant,
saying,
wait for Drunk
someone
Ant.
will be in the comments.
Yeah.
I wonder who that would be.
Abdul Fattah, who scored in the 8th minute, and Ricardo Pereira, with a cross from Jeremy Munger in the 80th minute, to that won the game for the Foxers. It's Birmingham's unbeaten start has come to an end, gentlemen.
Yeah. So go on, Annie. Go on.
Yeah, but they had control over large proportions of this game without necessarily creating big chances and stuff like that. That possession, that control, that territory didn't necessarily amount to sort of good territory. I'd call it in terms of you sort of put pressure on the opposition goal. But yeah, Birmingham have lost, but I still think it's a good start, and they've ticked off Leicester away. They've also played Ipswich at home, so that's two of the Year 1 parachute teams, and they've looked relatively competitive in both games. I think Martin Cifuentes sort of outcoached Chris Davies in this one, did a bit of a job on him. Leicester sort of sat in, and then in the second half in particular sat in, and then just did a job on him. And Leicester were very good at doing that, and were probably the deserved winners in this one. Abdul Fattah, I think it's safe to say,
amazing player at this level.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say he's too good for this division. He's a bit of a cheat code. If I'm remembering rightly, last time Leicester in the Championship, he took a little while to settle in, but now he's fully, moulded into Leicester. He's been in the Premier League now as well for a year. Yeah, the guy's a quality player and should not be playing in the Championship, and that's a credit to Leicester, and that's a credit to him as a player. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic player to watch. And then Ricardo Pereira. I know there were conversations about whether or not he should have stayed on the pitch. Honestly, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I don't watch it and watch that. So I have no opinion on that. But yeah, it's a good win for Leicester. It's a team who I expect to be sort of in and around the top. So good that they've beaten a team like that. The head-to-heads will matter when you come to the end of the season. If Leicester and Birmingham sort of in a promotion race or top 4 and top 5, something like that. So yeah, it's a very good win for Leicester. I'm still not I'm not concerned for Birmingham. I still think they'll be a very, very good team this season. I think they'll still be a feared force this season. I still think they'll be very, very good and be near the top of the division.
Yeah, I think Leicester, El Khanousi is now going, across into Europe. Not he was going to sign for Crystal Palace, but that deal never is not happening. So, I think to keep Fatawu and also some of the other key players will help them. I know for and he wants to get rid of Oliver Skip. Yeah, I think he did say a lot earlier in the show, but he did say something about this at the start. Birmingham got dealt with. I wonder if that will make it to the final cut for the documentary that they've been doing as well. So probably will be, and it wouldn't be surprised. I always will do something like that. So yeah, it'll
Have
be a
you
good one.
noticed that Ant always turns into a bit of a shithouse himself as soon as Leicester win a game? Like a
Yeah,
couple of weeks ago when they lost to Preston, and he was just going all about oh, I don't care, I'll sack a lot of them, oh, they're absolutely useless and bottlers. And then all of a sudden they win a couple of games and he's piping up again. See, they always find a way to reel you back in, don't they? So, but yeah, no, to be fair, like obviously remember the mood at what was it, at Preston a couple of weeks ago. But by the way, quickly for Jeremy Monga, we've got to mention him very quick now. He's had a really good start of the season when obviously scored the goal at Preston to get Leicester back level, even though it didn't mean anything in the end. And then gets the goal that effectively was a match-winning assist, even though they were already 1-0 up at that point. So obviously that's one of the bright sparks for Leicester going forward. I think Leicester were controlling the game enough without having the ball. I think they allowed Birmingham sort of try to say, come on then, come and try and break us down. And I think Birmingham just struggled against a low block. I think that was more or less what it was. And I agree with Annie. I think Marty Cifuentes tactically outcoached Chris Davis. So I think it's all about it is all about that. I think it's just important for Leicester when they responded to Preston with back-to-back wins. Remember going away to Charlton and winning, which I think will be a harder task than people think, especially away from home as a promoted side, and then beating one of the teams that's fancied to be up there challenging for promotion. Don't think there can be too many complaints about that. Obviously, the key thing will be whether Fatawu stays. And remember, last time he was in the Championship with Leicester, I think he was on loan.
he was on loan and he
They made
signed
that deal.
permanent
Yeah.
last.
Oh, there you go. So
Yeah,
they made that deal permanent upon getting promoted. So, and I think he signed a 5-year contract there, but I might be wrong.
yeah, he
Um,
did.
yeah. So in which case, yeah. So obviously, the Leicester are in no rush to sell. I think Fatawu will probably stay. But as you both said, I think if he does, he's easily a cheat code for this level. Shouldn't be playing at it because his goal was fantastic. Really good bit of one-on-one skill. But yeah, like I said, no disgrace from Birmingham. They've played against two of the Year One parachute teams, more than matched Ipswich. In fact, we dominated Ipswich for large parts. And then obviously this game was probably the first one where I've looked and thought, okay, that maybe wasn't so great. But Leicester away, like it is Leicester away, isn't it? So yeah, no too many complaints from Birmingham start, and Leicester 2 wins and a bounce going into the break.
Yep, absolutely good for Matty Cifuentes and for the Foxes fans as well. And let's get to our final game. And Annie, take it away. Listen, what a thumping win for Bristol City yesterday. Has it calmed your nerves a little bit now after the bit of the last couple of draws you had?
Yeah, I'm still not, going to sit here and say, oh, the revolution has begun and we're going to be up there in the division or anything like that. I'm still relatively calm about the whole thing. It was a great win. It was a fantastic win. 49 shots, I think, in the game. So exciting end-to-end stuff. It felt like a bit of a basketball game at the time. And yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Hull take the lead early on after a mistake from Atkinson and just holding your head in your hands and you're going, what have we done? Why have we done to deserve that? But we responded fantastically. We controlled. And yeah, as I just said about 2 minutes ago, control and having the ball doesn't necessarily mean you're dominating the game, but we had the control in the territory and we actually had good control and good territory and we put pressure on the whole goal. And yeah, the goal was good. The first one was a good one. Emil Reese gets his first goal and his second goal later on. The second one is identical to our first goal. And then, Charlie Hughes, who highly rated centre-back, very, very good centre-back, makes a terrible mistake, similar to the goal that Hull score, the first one, and gives the ball away. Emil Reese, he tucks it away. He's a very good Championship striker, isn't he? So, and then the second half, that was when it felt properly like basketball-y. That felt like ping pong, and that felt like this feels like a game that Hull are going for. They're leaving spaces, and there was one point where Max Bird, I think at 4-1, he gets the ball, he goes past their first line of attack, and you can see about 25 yards of space, and John Lundstrom, who's just going like, oh my god, he's got that much space to run into, and it was the whole horrendous defensively, if I'm being completely honest. And we took advantage of that brilliantly. We hit the bar a couple of times. I thought our fourth goal was very nicely worked, and it was a very good goal. Mehmeti and McCrory did a lovely one too, pulls it across, and the finish off the underside of the bar. Brilliant. And yeah, it's just a very, very good win. We created loads of chances, which is a massive change to what it was against Charlton and what it was against Derby. We didn't just, it wasn't just pointless direct long balls. It was long balls. It was direct, but it was with intensity. It was with pace. It was with runners. It felt like a clear direction, and it felt like a clear sort of idea of what we were doing. We'd press high, we'd press Ryan Giles and Cody Drammer, the wing backs, the fullbacks, for hold really high, force them into mistakes, or we'd capitalise on the second balls, and we were really good at that, and that's what Struber wants from this Bristol City team. So yeah, it's been a bit of a weird start in terms of goal scoring wise and performance wise, and we've had really good, meh, really good, but we're unbeaten. We've had a good start. We look all right defensively. Okay, we conceded 20 shots against Hull. We probably were a little bit lucky that wasn't maybe more than that. And Radek Vitek, as Doug puts in the chat, made an unbelievable save. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I did,
but,
yeah.
It was, I think, of McBurney's header into the ground, and Vitek literally from behind him claws it like that. It's ridiculous, unbelievable. Might still be Man United's best goalkeeper.
I think he definitely is at this moment. Yeah, after you said it the last couple of weeks, I think I would have had him go better than the two, including Tom Heaton as well. You can't, yeah.
But let's just keep that on the lowdown for now. I think.
Yeah, I know you want to keep it low down because you want to. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, you want to pay for it.
I think we want to keep Radek for the moment. But yeah, what a revelation he's been. Signed as an emergency player, basically, because if Max O'Leary is fit, then he's not a Bristol City player. He's probably on loan somewhere else. But yeah, brilliant signing, and yeah, and I feel all right about how things are going, and if we can create more chances like that, and the new signings, by the way, Vitek, brilliant. Randall in the midfield had his best game for us. He ran the show. He was absolutely outstanding. And Emil Reese obviously got his 2 goals. And to be fair to Emil Reese, I know he hasn't scored in the first 3 games, but everything else he does in terms of running in behind, holding the play, being just a nuisance to Championship centre backs and fullbacks, is what he does. And it's just the sort of characteristics and profile you'd expect from what you want from a striker in a Struber system, and Emil Reese fits that perfectly. So yeah, I wasn't concerned by the lack of goals because everything else he's done is fantastic. So yeah, good for him to get off the mark as well. And these upcoming 24 hours for City are going to be. Oh yeah, this is good. This is good. I'm anticipating one of the busiest deadline days we've had in a while because outgoings. We have a bloated squad. We have a couple too many, and we want to bring in at least one in the forward position. So this is watch this space. I think I'll say because this is going to be. I think my head might explode if by the number of rumors and stuff like that's gonna come about on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, exciting, and hopefully Struber gets his wish. Of a couple of players, and we've already got, obviously, as we speak, on this stream, we signed Neto Borges on loan from Middlesbrough, which I think is it's a decent signing. It's a steady Championship player who's ready to go and adds to our depth. So happy with that, happy enough with that, and yeah, let's turn our attention to a forward position. If we sign a forward and we can get, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 out the door, I think we've put ourselves in a really good position. And if the forward we sign, is obviously a good fit for Struber. No, you never know. You never know. Reece and that other forward, we might be in a very, very good position. But that's obviously all theoretical and stuff. Yeah, I think I'm really happy with how things might transpire. But ask me again, 7 p.m. tomorrow.
I was just about to say we'll wait and see what.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Bristol City needing a forward though? They scored 9 goals in the first 4 games.
Emil Reece is not. Well, it was more about the depth we have.
I know
And
what you meant. I was taking
as I mentioned, as I've mentioned before, and I said it again, so I'm repeating myself too much. We've got numbers, we've got real numbers, but it's just the quality that I'm really concerned about. So someone else in there would be quite nice.
Okay.
No, absolutely. But there you go. There you go. No. I think with Bristol, like I said, I think with Bristol City has been a pretty good start. I think what was it? Was it 8 points now? 2 wins, 2 draws. So so obviously, yeah. I think when you have Annie saying something like, yeah, you know what, pretty content with how things are going, then you know things are going all right. Because believe me, we hear it from him when he doesn't think things are going all right. So yeah. But yeah, no, it should. Well, there you go. We'll see how busy deadline day is for every single club. So this is obviously kind of to some degree my favorite time of the transfer window, deadline day, with how hectic it gets. But when your club needs to do quite a bit, it's like, oh, I'm kind of dreading it because you're wondering what'll happen if we don't. But still,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially the deadline day is now to 7 p.m., not 11 tomorrow
yeah,
night.
that's weird.
So,
That
yeah.
Thank God, though. I want to go to bed, to be honest.
So we all agree with that one. Yeah, we all agree with that one. Gentlemen, thank you very much as always. As usual, let's see the league table in the championship. Middlesbrough, the only team with a 100% winning record.
Woo!
Yeah. West Brom are also behind, gone up to second with Stoke, Leicester City, Bristol City, Coventry City. All the cities make up the top
all the cities.
cities. All the cities make up the top six. Swansea just outside, along with Portsmouth and Preston behind them, with Birmingham City dropping down alongside with Preston as well. You know, Norwich and Millwall in the round the top half of the table. And at bottom, Sheffield United are still the only team who will not have not won any games at the moment, with only one goal that they've scored as well. Well, at least at least for Sheffield Wednesday, they are above them, along with Oxford and Derby, just around in the bottom half of the table with Ipswich Town. They're still slow, but QPR move up a bit, move up to 18th after their first win of the season. So, yeah,
Can you
gentlemen,
imagine if, by the way, can you imagine if that was the bottom two this season, though? Sheffield United going down with Bristol with Sheffield Wednesday. My word, that's how you know things can go really tits up within a short space of time. And also, we've got to quickly mention, because I think Annie will probably want to revel in this. We've got two of the cities, and Middlesbrough and West Brom, being the only sides unbeaten currently left.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely, yeah.
This is where I'll say Annie can have Bristol City continue that, but knowing it'll be draw, and there'll hardly be any wins in that.
12 game unbeaten run, 7 draws. So something 8 draws, something.
Yeah, you go like, what was it, like a 23 game unbeaten run? Or how many draws was it? 23 draws. 20. I wonder what the most
22 nil-nils.
22 nil. Yeah, it's like, well, the clean sheets are coming through the roof, but I'm not seeing any goals. So I wonder what the most amount of I wonder what the most amount of draws a team has had in a season in the Championship.
Millwall under Gary Rowett, maybe. I remember
Yeah.
they had an extortionate amount of draws once.
Yeah, I would have
Yeah,
thought so
we're
as well
trying to
too.
think.
Once upon a time, a long time ago. That was maybe Burnley last season.
Yeah. That's
Probably
actually
not. Probably not though.
Championship most draws. Let's have a look. Oh, it says this season. I was going to say Footy Stats says Bristol City is the team with the most draws this season in the Championship, whopping 2 draws out of 3 matches. So apparently that was last weekend. Yeah, okay. That's not quite what I meant, Google, but never mind. I'm trying to think what was Championship most draws of all time or whatever it is. Come on.
Yeah.
Surely there's got to be the answer in here somewhere.
Why you just find championship draws in the most season in one in one season?
Yeah, right. Hold the thought. To everyone who's still watching and watching me go through this, well done. What was
Right,
it?
this is telling me that in 1978-79, so this is probably before the championship existed.
Norwich,
It was
isn't it?
Norwich 23 draws,
Wow.
I think.
Oh, it's
But that
half
was
your games. Wow.
But that was before the new championship.
It's
Do you mean
the only
was that
first division, so that still technically counts. So yeah,
was
Yeah,
that when it?
definitely.
Oh no, mate. I was going to say, was that when it was 2 points for a win, or was it when it was 3?
it was actually still 2 actually, because I don't think they changed they went to 3 until the early 80s. I think it was 1982, 93 they went to 3 points. They were still using 2 points, I think.
I don't mind. I was going to say, I was looking underneath it. It said what was the most amount of draws in a Premier League season, and according to this, says most draws in total 356. Everton. I was like, that's got to be all time. Can't be
Yeah.
356 games in a season.
Yeah. So 3 points for was introduced in England in 1981.
Christ, oh well. Maybe you ever wonder if you reduced it back to like 2 points for a win, then everyone will start going for draws again. It'd be a bit even
But
more
but you
cautious.
know what? It didn't take till the 1994 FIFA World Cup to use a 3-point system in a major tournament because they were still using 2 points before 1994 until FIFA adopted it in 1995. All if it is a standard in majority of the national leagues and the international tournaments. So
Yeah, finally got with the times.
very much so. The reason for the change was the late great Jimmy Hill, who proposed change to increase excitement and reduce the number of defensive draws.
Was it also the excitement he claimed about revealing Sunderland's score against Everton way back in the day, which then relegated us? I think it was when Everton were playing Bristol City at that time. Come to think of it, but no, and
Yeah,
I'm not too bothered by that. But there's a lot of Sunderland fans.
yeah, it was pretty much it was the reason why that because it was not enough incentive for the team to play offensively. So that's why we was looked at how Norwich has got so many draws before just 2 years before that the 3 points came in. So yeah.
I can't be bothered to look at it now, but I'd be very keen to find out who's got the most draws in the championship since it's changed to 3 points for a win. But I don't know. Maybe
That
Annie's
really
right.
hard with that one. Yeah.
Maybe Annie might be right. Might be Burnley last season. Come to think of it,
Probably will
I'm pretty
be.
sure Millwall had like 20 something draws under Gary Rowett once. Which
what season would that be?
I can't remember one of the Gary Rowett Millwall seasons. I'm not sure exactly which
Hang
one.
on. I'll try 2017-18 Gary Rowe. Well, I know that because that season they drew twice against us. And by the way, they drew twice against us when we had Robin Reuter and Jason Steele and Lee Camp in goal.
Yeah.
Across the whole season. So shame on you, Millwall. Let's have a look. 2017-18. Why has it not done it?
So
Why is it in 2017-18 Derby County season? I want hang on. Gary Rowett, that's why. Do you know the good thing is, even though I'm kind of waffling here, at least it's not 2 hours this time.
So they had 15 draws in 2021-22 season on
There was 17 in 2021.
Yeah.
And there was 17 in 1920 as well. I think that was under Harris.
I've got 15 draws in 17-18.
Yeah, there was 17 in 20.
17 in 2021. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know it's mixed it completely up. Never mind, ignore me. Oh well, then I'm just going to shut up.
Let's just say it was Millwall, shall we? And then
it probably will be Millwall. But who else is going to be?
Until 2025-26, when Gary Struber's Bristol City break the record.
Who's Gary Struber?
I'm just going to invent it. Yeah, Gary Struber, George Struber's long lost cousin on the coaching staff. No, Gerald, we're going too far forward. Sit back. 0-0's fine. But mate, we're playing like, I don't know, who is it? We're playing Sheffield United away. Doesn't matter. Draw 0-0. Oh, sorry, Sheffield United at home, I should say. Yeah, I'm going completely delirious.
Yeah, I think we're going mad here.
Yeah, and let's just end the show before.
No, let's say I'm going mad. You two are still saying. It's just me who's going.
No, and he's slowly, but I'm still saying,
Yeah, right.
Because y'all want to try to find more information about, the most draws.
The most draws in a season. I like it.
Yeah.
Bunch of football nerds.
Yes, I know. Right, gentlemen, that is, we've come to the end of the show. We actually finished it a lot earlier than we actually did.
I know. Maybe it was a good thing that Drunk Ant wasn't on here.
Oh yeah, well you know what Ant will be like. Especially he'll be going back to school on Tuesday because it's school starts again, so he'll be back to all the usual crap.
Maybe that's why he's not on here then. So because his content pretty much would have been right. So yeah, it was good to get 3 points. Screw Coventry City. It was also good to see off Birmingham City. Coventry City a tin pot. They used to not play in their own stadium. Oh yeah, it's good to see we got 9 points out of the first 3. Yeah, Coventry a tin pot, mate. Yeah, we're much bigger.
Absolutely. Gents, thanks very much as usual. I am back on tomorrow live with Doug to do the 20 review show of the Premier League tomorrow at 7 p.m. live, both on the Doug at Football channel and the Totally Home Football podcast as well. Because it's the last show we do before the international break. The other thing we'll be doing is the Saturday show next weekend, which will be a shorter format because due to the international break. But like I said, this is join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. as usual here tomorrow at 7 p.m. because there's no Monday Night Football, which I'm glad we get to do a review on Monday night for the first time this season. Because I couldn't do this one this past week. I was a bit busy. So yeah. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow night with Doug and some guests on as well. So please join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. But if you don't want, if you please subscribe to my channel, I will put both Annie's and Michael's channel in the description after the show as well. But we'll see you guys in a fortnight's time to do the at 8 p.m. to do the match day 5 of the championship review. So we'll be back on then. But yes, I'm back on you tomorrow with the Premier League with Doug and some guests. And like I say, keep an eye on these guys' channels during the course of the week as well. But all you have a good week and enjoy the transfer deadline day tomorrow for the next 24 hours, where it will close at 7 p.m. here in the UK as well. So all you have a good weekend. Take it for now. Bye bye.